Lois Riess, often referred to by the media as the killer grandma, committed a series of shocking murders in 2018 that captured nationwide attention due to their chilling nature and the psychological intrigue surrounding her motives. Her story is one of deception, betrayal, and murder, set against the backdrop of seemingly ordinary American life. What began as an investigation into the murder of her husband soon unraveled into a multi-state manhunt, as authorities discovered the depth of Riess' violent tendencies and her ability to blend into her surroundings as she committed her crimes. Lois Riess was a grandmother from Blooming Prairie, Minnesota. Outwardly, she appeared to be a normal woman, a loving wife and doting grandmother. Yet, there was something far more sinister at play. Riess had a long history of gambling addiction, which placed her and her husband, David Riess, in financial ruin. Their life together, once stable, was falling apart, with Lois turning increasingly to gambling to try to solve their money problems. It was this desperation that seems to have triggered the first of her two murders. The first known murder occurred in March 2018, when Lois Riess shot her husband, David, in their home. The motive appeared to be financial. After killing him, Riess forged his signature to withdraw funds from his bank account, attempting to cover her tracks. Her calm and calculated behavior after the murder showed that this wasn't a crime of passion, but rather a premeditated act to rid herself of financial and personal burdens. Authorities quickly became suspicious when David was reported missing by concerned family members, and upon visiting the couple's home, they found his body, already decomposing, hidden under a blanket. By this point, Lois had already fled Minnesota, beginning what would become a deadly cross-country escapade. What makes Lois Riess so particularly notorious is not just the fact that she killed her husband but the chilling way she proceeded after the murder. After fleeing Minnesota, Riess traveled to Florida, where she committed a second murder that left the nation in shock. It was here in Fort Myers Beach that Riess encountered Pamela Hutchinson, a 59-year-old woman who had the misfortune of crossing paths with Riess. The two women met at a bar, and investigators later determined that Riess had targeted Hutchinson because of their similar physical appearance. Riess needed a new identity, and Hutchinson presented the perfect opportunity for her to assume someone else's life and evade capture. Riess befriended Hutchinson over the course of a few days, winning her trust before ultimately killing her in cold blood. On April 5, 2018, Riess shot and killed Hutchinson in her Fort Myers Beach condo. In a move that showcased her calculated nature, Riess stole Hutchinson's identification, credit cards, and car, intending to assume her victim's identity. The cold-bloodedness of the crime was particularly disturbing. Riess shot Hutchinson multiple times and left her body in the condo to be discovered days later. By the time authorities realized what had happened, Riess was already on the run, driving Hutchinson's car and using her money to fund her escape. Riess' ability to manipulate and deceive those around her became apparent in her interactions with strangers while on the run. Security camera footage from casinos and restaurants showed Riess interacting with people, seemingly blending into her surroundings without arousing suspicion. Her outward charm and grandmotherly appearance made it difficult for many to believe that she was a murderer. This dissonance between her appearance and her actions captivated the media and the public, who were both horrified and fascinated by how such a seemingly ordinary woman could commit such heinous acts. The nationwide manhunt for Riess intensified after the murder of Pamela Hutchinson. Authorities in both Minnesota and Florida coordinated efforts to locate her, and her face was plastered across news outlets and social media platforms. Despite the widespread attention, Riess managed to evade capture for several weeks, traveling across multiple states, including Texas, where she was spotted at casinos and hotels. Her addiction to gambling was a crucial factor in her movements during this time. Riess appeared to continue her routine of visiting casinos, as she had done in her previous life, almost as if she believed she could somehow return to normalcy despite the gravity of her crimes. Riess' run from the law came to an end on April 19, 2018, when she was apprehended in South Padre Island, Texas, after a tip led authorities to her location. She was found in a restaurant, casually chatting with patrons, her demeanor calm and collected. There was no dramatic chase or confrontation, just a quiet surrender. Riess was arrested and charged with multiple crimes, including the murders of her husband, David Riess, and Pamela Hutchinson. During the investigation, it became clear that Lois Riess was a woman with deep psychological issues, driven by a desperate need to solve her financial problems at any cost. Some experts speculated that her gambling addiction and subsequent financial ruin may have triggered a psychotic break, leading her to kill her husband in order to gain control of their remaining assets. The murder of Pamela Hutchinson was less easily explained. While the assumption was that Riess killed her to assume her identity and avoid arrest, the brutality and coldness of the crime pointed to a far deeper darkness within Riess. In December 2018, Lois Riess pleaded guilty to the murder of Pamela Hutchinson in a Florida court and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Later, in 2020, she also pleaded guilty to the murder of her husband, David Riess, in Minnesota and received a second life sentence. Throughout her court appearances, Riess maintained a calm and emotionless demeanor, further mystifying those following the case. Her lack of remorse or emotion, combined with her earlier ability to charm and deceive those around her, painted the picture of a woman who was not only capable of murder, but also able to dissociate herself from the heinousness of her actions. Lois Riess' story continues to intrigue the public because it defies so many expectations. How could a grandmother, someone who should be a figure of care and warmth, commit such brutal and calculated murders? What drove her to target someone who had done nothing to her, but share a physical resemblance? These questions remain unanswered, leaving a lingering sense of unease about what could lead someone to such a path of destruction. Her case serves as a grim reminder that evil can sometimes wear the most unsuspecting faces. Riess, who appeared to be the epitome of a small-town grandmother, was in fact a cold-blooded killer capable of shocking violence. The juxtaposition of her outward appearance with her brutal actions is perhaps what makes her crimes so unforgettable. Ultimately, the Lois Riess murders are a testament to the unpredictability of human behavior and the dark potential that can lie hidden beneath even the most ordinary lives. Thank you for listening to another episode of Loopholery, your go-to podcast channel for quick, witty, and insightful takes on random topics, all in 8 minutes or less. Whether we're diving into quirky facts, exploring weird loopholes, or just pondering life's strange questions, we keep it short, fun, and engaging. Perfect for curious minds on the go. Like or subscribe, and get your fix of unpredictable knowledge bites.